President of the United States came out last night and gave an Oval Office address on coronavirus. He read it off a teleprompter. And within a very short period of time, his administration had to walk back and correct several significant errors that he made in that written speech. He said that cargo was going to be banned from Europe. It is not. He said that insurance companies had agreed to provide coronavirus treatment for free. They had not. He suggested, falsely, that American citizens in Europe might not be allowed back in the country. That prompted what a New York Times reporter described as bedlam at U.S.-bound airlines at Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, as Americans paid as much as $20,000 for last-minute flights. And this was the markets 5 minutes into his speech. As Trump kept talking, futures just kept getting worse. This morning, the Dow plunged 10% for its worst day since the 1987 crash. In fact, it dropped so much and so quickly that it triggered the so-called circuit breaker for the second time in a week. It happened Monday and again today, halting trading for 15 minutes. All of this is a reflection of the utter mismanagement and failure by this president from the very beginning of this pandemic. The coronavirus is presenting a governing test for every nation that is facing it. And right now, the federal U.S. government is failing that test. And it is failing it from the top. That is not my view. The director of Harvard's Global Health Institute said this: "It has been an unmitigated disaster the administration has brought upon the population. And I don't say this lightly. We have had a much worse response than Iran, than Italy, than China and South Korea." The National Security Council used to have a global health team specifically to deal with pandemics like this. President Trump shut it down years ago. The president then ordered some travel restrictions from China during the outbreak there that did not prevent the virus from reaching the U.S., obviously. And then, of course, there's the testing situation here, which Trump continues to lie about, and is probably worse than any other country outside perhaps Iran, where we don't know really what's going on. This was the president today.
Frankly, the testing has been going very smooth. If you go to the right agency, if you go to the right area, you get the test.
That is flatly a lie. It's a lie. It is still extremely difficult for most people, the overwhelming majority, to get a coronavirus test. 3 months after the first cases were reported in Wuhan, China. As the top infectious disease expert in the government, Dr. Anthony Fauci, acknowledged today, the testing system is failing.
The system is not really geared to what we need right now, what you are asking for. That is a failing.
And failing, yes.
It is a failing. I mean, let's admit it.
Now, that's what's happening right now just with the pandemic. But on top of that, keep this in mind. Right now, the Trump administration is in court to try and destroy the entirety of the Affordable Care Act. They are right now pushing a budget, including, as of this week, in testimony, that would dramatically cut the budget of the Centers for Disease Control. And that's not to mention the fact the president has used his bully pulpit to repeatedly spread disinformation that quite literally elevates the risk for all of us. He said the cases are going to be down close to zero. He said one day it's like a miracle, it will disappear. He claimed the case numbers look to be going down, not up. He keeps comparing it to the flu to try to minimize it, despite the fact that every serious public health expert says it is not like the flu. This has been the fear since day one of this presidency, when we elected and then swore in a racist game show host to the most important job in the country, a job that tasks him with managing huge systemic risks on our behalf. The fear is that we would get to this point. And the Republican Party made a deal. They accepted that risk so they can get tax cuts for the rich and conservative judges. And right now, the bill is coming due.